Hey everyone, and welcome to an impromptu bonus episode of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. I am Lee. I'm not joined by the guys because I'm jumping on this pretty much as it's happened, to be honest, because we have some breaking news. But I am joined by, fresh from his return on the podcast with Little Things, Seth Kabursky. Hey, Seth.
Hey, how are you all doing?
Glad to have you on, and I know this is probably an incredibly busy time for you, so I really appreciate you jumping on quickly with me.
Yeah, this is a little unexpected. We knew that today, the 21st of May, around 3 o'clock Orlando time, we knew that Universal would be presenting their plan to the county commission, but we didn't expect it to get approved so quickly.
It's really strange when you consider that it's only been, it's not even been a week. No, it's just been a week. A week today, City Walk reopened. That's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And just yesterday, Disney Springs opened. And today we know that Universal's plan is as of June 1st. Their employees will be back on the job. They will have a couple days of testing with selected invited guests and some annual pass holders.
You'll be there, Seth, will you, I assume, for that one?
I assume that they will not invite me, but I'll do my best to figure out a way in up there. That's on the 3rd and the 4th. And then June 5th, open to the public.
It is going to be really interesting because it's not giving them a lot of time, because obviously we believe that the whole point of opening City Walk to what it is was for them to get people in and learn how to deal with the situation, because it's the same as an attraction. At the end of the day, they don't know how this stuff's going to work until they've got people coming in and actually having to deal with social distancing and all the rest of it.
Well, obviously, the reopening of City Walk was not because they thought they were going to make a ton of money off of Voodoo Donuts, but because they needed a test run.
Yeah.
And they've been heavily surveying guests who have been at City Walk. They've had all of the top management out looking at everything. And obviously, they feel very confident with the way things have gone so far, confident enough to move forward quicker than I think a lot of people expected. I had personally predicted that it would happen sometime between Memorial Day and 4th of July, but I was really thinking we'd be a couple weeks closer to 4th of July.
Yeah.
But June 5th it is. And they've released a list of changes that they're going to make that I think we should talk about.
Yeah. I'm a bad podcaster. I was not actually keeping up on it. I've had about 20 listeners all messaging me going, just in case you weren't paying attention, this is what's happened.
Yeah, so the most important things, first of all, are in terms of sanitation, social distancing, and health checks.
Yeah.
First of all, and this will be familiar to anyone who has followed the reopening of City Walk, temperature checks are going to continue for all guests.
Yep.
Interestingly, they mentioned that I think they've done 30,000 temperature checks so far. Only a handful had to be held back for a second check, and I believe they said that no one has been rejected entirely from property yet because of temperature checks.
Because that makes sense. At the end of the day, if you feel, it's funny, I was talking to Tracy about it the other day, if your temperature's 100.4, then really you shouldn't be well enough to be thinking about going to a theme park or a City Walk anyway.
No, I would think, especially with the weather getting warmer and warmer, that would be the last place
exactly
you would want to be. And also, of course, masks are going to continue to be mandatory for everyone. And they have officially said now that guests who do not come with a mask will be provided one free. They were sort of unofficially giving people free masks if they didn't want to purchase one, but now that will be standard procedure.
Okay. Because have they, as far as masks, Seth, have they said specifically if you have to have a certain type, or is it just anything that covers your face at this point?
It is, yeah. There are no real qualifications on what counts as a mask. I've seen people with bandanas, with scarves. They're not looking for N95 masks. They're not looking for hospital quality masks.
Okay.
They're simply asking you to wear some sort of covering over your mouth. And just to be clear, that mask is not to protect you.
Yeah.
That mask will not keep you from getting sick. But it does mean that if you are sick and don't know that you are sick, it will maybe help keep you from spreading that to another guest.
Yeah, it's that thing. If everyone's wearing them, then it minimizes that risk.
Right. It's sort of a, having a kind of herd immunity without actually having a vaccine.
Yeah.
Obviously, not in any way perfect, but they are required at all times, except when you are actively eating and drinking. And personally, I did notice at Disney Springs yesterday, which had its grand reopening, a lot of people seem to be using the presence of a beverage as maybe an excuse to walk around without a mask. Universal in general, I thought was doing a more consistent job of enforcing or encouraging mask usage than Disney did. But it doesn't seem yet that either has really empowered their employees to, call the cops or kick someone out for not having a mask. Generally, if someone isn't wearing a mask, someone will tell them, please put the mask on. And if they ignore them, they're really not going to fight them too hard. We'll see if that changes.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing of eating. You're looking at theme parks where a lot of the food and drink consumption is people wandering around. How are they dealing with that? Do you have to be sat in a restaurant or sat somewhere, or can, if you have a churro or like a voodoo donut, for example, and you're just wandering around?
Sure. At Universal, at least on their first day, they kind of solved that problem by not having a lot of, no open bars, no Fat Tuesdays, or a hurricane window at Pat O'Brien's. So that, really reduced the amount of people just wandering around, particularly with beverages. And while you did see people buying, a box of voodoo donuts, for the most part, it looked like people were buying food at Universal to take it home, eat it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And over at, say, Margaritaville, the bar at the Lone Palm, outside by the airplane, was not accepting just people walking up to the bar and grabbing a drink. You had to actually be seated at a table.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Obviously, those kind of things are going to get stretched and restrictions lifted, but Disney, I was a little more surprised. There seemed a lot more places. One of the Starbucks was open. A couple of places like the Polite Pig had a bar where you could walk up outside. So I just saw a lot more people at Disney with drinks,
or witnessing people grilling their own hot dogs on the side.
Well, yeah, okay. That's
to bring it up.
Definitely not a good look, and we really didn't need that going viral. It's not what we. This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, it was funny,
but that did not last long.
I'm sure.
Like I can assure you that Disney security took care of that right quick. So other restrictions that we're going to see inside the parks, obviously reduced capacity for everything, increased use of virtual lines, elimination of single rider queues, which makes me sad.
I think it was one of those things we recorded on Monday night, and I meant to bring it up and I forgot. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you're trying to keep people within their family groups to not then have a single rider line. It makes perfect sense.
They haven't specifically said that they're going to clean every ride car between every guest. I don't think they've said that, but they have said that they're going to space people out, keep family groups together, not pair people. They even have a section talking about reopening Volcano Bay.
Really?
The announcement did not specifically say that Volcano Bay would be opening on June 5th, but they do have, set fairly detailed plans that are predicated on the idea that chlorinated water will kill the virus. So that as long as people are in the water, that they don't have to worry as much. That appears to be the concept. But things like even down to lockers, only using half of the available lockers and using team members to direct guests to lockers when it's time to get them. Obviously, spacing people in the queues, putting lines every 8 or 10 feet apart inside of queues where the queues are needed. And like I said, using virtual lines as much as possible.
So they've actually said those virtual lines are going to be put in place.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the technology, obviously, for Jimmy Fallon and Fast Furious. And ironically, they haven't been used all that much at those. They haven't been needed. Well, now we're going to see those virtual lines being used for sure, whether we want them or not.
Do you think that will be, I know a few people have voiced their concerns about it. Do you think that will be a temporary thing, Seth, or do you think this is it? This is them. It's going to be implemented now and they will keep it?
I would like to think that anything of this nature is temporary until we are in a world where there is a ubiquitous vaccine or a reliable cure. But this is going to have to be the new normal until that happens.
Yeah.
Or the new abnormal, I guess.
Yeah.
A way of saying it. Other things to look for, they're still going to have shows with reduced capacity, but they're not going to have post-show meet and greets.
Yep.
They're not going to have parades. The floats will be pulled out individually, and the characters will wave at guests from on top of the float for an interaction.
Fair enough.
But their hugging is going to be eliminated.
That'd be similar to what we saw them do at Shanghai Disneyland. Was it Shanghai that opened first? Yeah, because they did the same thing, didn't they? They sort of pulled the parade floor out at the beginning of the day and had all the characters on there. So similar than what they're doing then.
And of course things like hand washing stations.
Yes,
all over the place. It's all about social distancing and trying to make things contact free. They've talked about more reliance on things like Apple Pay and mobile ordering. Even no longer having boxes of maps that are for people to take, but instead having an employee handing out maps to individual people, or better yet, encouraging them to just use the mobile app on their phone. Interesting thing that I'm still looking for and have not seen yet. One, if they're eliminating the finger scan for entry at the turnstiles.
They have to.
I am one of the very few people, I believe, who's been in the system so long that I have a photograph from back in the early days when they used to take photos of annual pass holders. They stopped that a long time ago, and the employees are very surprised when they see my picture pop up on the turnstile every time I scan in. But obviously the technology still exists for them to replace fingerprint scans with a photo.
Yeah, well, you think about it, they're doing it with the express passes in line for things like Men in Black and stuff. So they've been using it over the past few years, so they must be able to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And other things, the use of water. One of the signatures in Universal attractions has always been getting spritzed with water on a ride. So they've said that for the time being, mist and water effects inside attractions are being turned off.
Wow.
Now, I don't think that necessarily means that the water rides themselves, such as Bluto's, are going to be running or not. I don't know that, but I would expect anything that's a dark ride that sprays water on you,
most of them,
is going away. I'm happy to see that it does still seem that they will have 3D attractions. They specifically say that they will hand out 3D glasses individually instead of having bins of them. But it doesn't seem like they're going to get rid of 3D entirely. So as a Spider-Man fan, I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, one of the things going back to the mobile pay and stuff, Seth, was one of the things that Darren and Chris complained about when we were recording on Monday night is obviously they'll be encouraging people to use mobile ordering and stuff. And they've had an issue with, because your annual pass isn't part of it, you won't get your discount.
Yes, and that's another question that I would love to have them answer. Because my ticket is attached to my account, just like my credit card, it seems logical that they could give the annual pass discounts on mobile ordering if they so choose. Disney has figured out a way to do it. Yes, it's especially since right now, for a limited time, they're offering increased annual pass discounts, of 25% for premier pass holders, and even the seasonal pass holders who don't normally get any discount are getting 10%. So it is ironic that they would heavily push, annual pass holders to come and get a discount. At the same time, they want them to use a mobile order that doesn't let them get a discount. I hope that inconsistency is resolved real quick.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things you're going to end up finding getting put in place during this. There's probably stuff that should have been rolled out ages ago, and this is forcing them to do it. So it's not a bad thing, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
I think that this, like any crisis or tragedy, is going to force them to take some steps that they probably should have taken months or years ago. It would have been good things to do even without this. So one last thing is that interactive playgrounds are all going to be closed for the time being, which is pretty sad. That means Camp Jurassic, the Seuss.
If I ran the zoo.
Exactly. If I ran the zoo, Curious George,
Yeah.
those kind of things are going to be closed. So, Universal is already not the greatest resort for little kids
Exactly.
who are too small to go on
Yeah.
rides. And this will not improve the situation for them for
No.
the time being.
Mm-hmm. So have they given any sort of indication of what stuff will be open at this point, Seth, or even what that capacity is going to be?
Yeah, they will only say that they're going to limit capacity. They have not said exactly what that limit will be or how they will notify people when that capacity is reached. There's been a lot of speculation in the industry about, especially with annual pass holders, having to maybe require timed tickets or
Yeah.
dated tickets to spread out attendance and make sure that too many people don't show up on the same day or at the same time.
Mm.
With all the bloggers alone here in Orlando, you could definitely see how social distancing will be hard to do
Yes.
on opening day.
Yeah, for definite.
So, yes, they have released no specifics yet about how that's going to work, but I'm sure before we get to June 5th, we will know a little bit more about that.
It's going to be such a weird situation. I can't imagine you and I spoke the back end of last week about Halloween Horror Nights, Seth, and what that looks like, and just like that's a completely different beast just in the theme park. But just looking at something like, because we kind of thought they were going to open Islands of Adventure first, because it looked like they were putting those social distance markers out the front of it, and it looked like they were potentially going to trial islands first and then go with the studios, but obviously they're not. They're just opening everything.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of work to do with the studios. They tore up the pavement in front of the ticket booths, so they're going to have to move pretty quick to get that patched up.
Because we sort of thought with the potential of opening islands first would have been easy because you could have forced a one-way system. Because with islands it would have been very easy with it being a circular route.
The tricky thing with islands, though, right now is Jurassic Park
Yes.
is a construction zone, and they took down the construction walls so that they could accelerate the progress. But it means that what would be the guest pathways right now are kind of impinged. If you look at the latest aerial photography of it, it's going to be a little tricky. I'm sure they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But that's a narrow pinched walkway right now. There's not a lot of elbow room. Definitely not a lot of social distancing going on going through the back half of Jurassic Park at this moment.
Yeah, that's why it would make a lot of sense if they just had it a one-way circular route. Yeah, it's going to be a pain for people if you're in Skull Island and you want to go back to Marvel, but it makes it easier without having, like you say, with certain areas that are quite narrow in islands, it would make it easier for that. I wonder if they'll go down that route.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think everyone is going to be real interested showing up the first day they open those gates just to see, how much is there going to be in terms of one-way arrows marked on the ground, boxes and dividing things up to keep people from standing around. It's definitely going to be a very different park experience.
Very weird. Who'd believed? I think I said it to you again when we spoke the other day that it was only like 13 weeks ago or something. We were in Orlando and this was a faint murmur in the background. And now look where we are. It's just so bizarre. It's weird.
Yeah. And, I don't really think this is the end. It's not even the beginning of the end. It might be the end of the beginning. But there's still... there are going to be a lot more twists and turns to come. That's
absolutely.
My prediction.
Yeah, it's interesting from people who cover this on a weekly basis. It is interesting to see it from a completely different perspective. But yeah.
And honestly, it's kind of fascinating seeing how much more aggressive Universal has been versus Disney. And I am a little bit biased. Just because I have a soft spot in my heart for Universal. But they really seem to have executed more cleanly, at least in the early days, than Disney has. I'll say I feel more comfortable at either Disney or Universal than I do at my local grocery store.
Yeah.
But Universal just seems to have made it a slightly more smoother, more efficient, and just feeling a little more professional about the way it's put together, which, hasn't always been in the case in the past
No.
when comparing Disney and Universal. So it's pretty impressive to see how how they've executed it.
Good. I mean, just before we wrap this up, Seth, because I know you're busy, because I know Disney was supposed to submit theirs today. Do you know if they did or not? Because I was hearing rumors that they weren't.
As far as I know, neither Disney nor SeaWorld submitted any plans today.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a date. I think SeaWorld is probably SeaWorld might be the next before Disney. That's possible.
Yeah.
But I think we'll hear that in the next couple of days. Let's just keep something in mind right now. Everything that we've talked about, this is what Universal proposed to the Orange County Commission. They approved it unanimously, but that gets passed up to our mayor, and Mayor Demings is going to approve it also, and he's going to pass it up to Ron DeSantis. And reading the tea leaves, Ron DeSantis will probably also approve it.
Right.
But as of this recording right now, it is not a 100% done deal.
Okay.
It looks like this is what's going to happen, but there could be some minor tweaks in what we've talked about.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty open to everything in Florida at the moment.
However, a lot of smaller attractions also got permission, or the same approval from the county commission, which will now be passed up. That includes Gatorland, Fun Spot, Wonderworks, the Starflyer, a lot of those iDrive attractions. And they've requested opening dates ranging from tomorrow through Memorial Day weekend. So, look for a lot more of those secondary attractions to start opening as soon as or even before Universal does.
It's an interesting thing as well that just popped into my head. I realised there that obviously like a lot of those iDrive attractions, and Universal and Disney for that matter, obviously most of their crowds are vacationers, people coming in from out of town. And obviously at the moment those people aren't there, so for their point of view it's good that you're only getting the people who live in the area, who kind of know the situation better than most anyway, to be able to deal with it that way. You're not going to get that influx of people coming in who happen to be staying on iDrive at the time.
That is true. But, I think that once word gets out that Central Florida is open for business, there's been anecdotal reports all across the country of an increase of people just taking road trips. And, I think you might see people from, Georgia and South Carolina, all over the Southeast, just, who have been cooped up for 2 months, and maybe they're not back at work, but they got their stimulus check. I wouldn't be shocked to see, people from surrounding states piling the kids in the car and driving down as soon as they hear Universal is open again.
Well, I know Michelle's in South Carolina and she's desperate to get back, so it wouldn't surprise me if she's there in the next month.
I mean, and then the question will be, was that a good idea?
Yes.
Will it be okay, or will we see the echo of that in emergency rooms, ICUs across the country in the weeks afterwards?
Well, fingers crossed that's not going to happen.
Well, yep. Thoughts and prayers.
Yes,
thoughts
absolutely.
And prayers.
Wash your hands, everyone.
Wash your hands. Hey, I will say that in so far in my trips, I purchased a box of Voodoo Donuts, which I took straight home and wiped down the box before opening. Other than that, I personally haven't had anything to eat or drink there on Disney or Universal property. I got my mask. I got my hand sanitizer. I'm going to go out and report on it, so our listeners and my readers can know what's going on.
Excellent.
But I'm not relaxing quite yet. I'm not treating it like we're back to normal.
No, and I think that's sensible.
Because we're not.
No, exactly. And that's sensible. And I think everyone else needs to go in with the same sensibilities, that it's just because they're open doesn't mean everything's normal, and just, keep your wits about you and be sensible.
Yeah. I think there's hopefully a sensible middle ground, because just, we're worried about everyone's physical health, and that's really important. But I'm also worried about a lot of people's mental health.
Yes.
And it was good seeing just families and children out, in the sunshine, in the fresh air, behaving like, social human beings, like we are, instead of, huddling in our caves. it was nice to see people stretch their legs.
Yeah, now I'll keep my fingers crossed that flights start coming out from the UK and we can get over in October.
Yeah, well, yes, the global airline industry is going to be a whole nother. That's going to be a whole nother story. It might Americans are going to get back into the parks, but it might be a little while before you guys get back over here.
Definitely. Right. Well, Seth, thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak to me. Like I say, I know doing what you do, this is a very busy time for you.
No problem. And I'm sure we're going to talk again just as soon as those gates open.
Oh, yes. Cool. There you go, everyone. As we said, the plans have been submitted. We expect it to go ahead. So the parks will be open at June 5th. And if you happen to go, let us know. Because the more reports we can get, the more people can be informed. Because I think it's one of those things that people planning trips down there need to know how it's going so they can go in with a better mindset as well. So that's going to do it for this. Thanks to Seth again for joining us, and we'll see you back next week.